Welcome to McGonigal's Chronicles, Making Montana Connections. I'm KRTV and KXLH anchor and reporter Tim McGonigal. Cole Hauser is responsible for helping create one of television's most iconic characters. As the no-nonsense ranch foreman and enforcer Rip Wheeler on the fictional Dutton Ranch in Montana, Hauser has helped propel Yellowstone to ratings success that few ever dreamed of when the show debuted in 2018. Hauser has been displaying his on-screen talents for much longer than that. His film credits include Good Will Hunting, School Ties, and Dazed and Confused, acting alongside the likes of Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, and Matthew McCounaghey. And he comes from a strong entertainment bloodline with parents and grandparents all involved in the film industry. When I interviewed him in December, he explained his deep Montana roots, which date back to the 1800s, when industrialist and former Montana Territorial Governor Samuel Thomas Hauser was in the state. Hauser is much more than the Rip we see on TV. He's gearing up for his directorial debut. And as we reported last year, he's also heavily involved in the production of the Montana bottled Lazy K Bar Bourbon Whiskey. Hauser's also the person behind Free Reign Coffee, a product that led to a legal action with Yellowstone creator Taylor Sheridan. That's an incident Hauser chose not to discuss during our December interview. But he was open about his time on Yellowstone, his family, and what lies ahead. I hope you enjoy this conversation with Cole Hauser.
And Cole, in doing research, you come from a very impressive bloodline of film and production people. Was acting something that you always wanted to do?
No, sports was my first love. And in fact, I didn't really know that my father was an actor until I was about 14 years old. My mom didn't really tell me. So when I started doing plays, she came to me and she said, this is actually what your father does. And oddly enough, I was watching a movie about a year prior to that. And I was late at night and I was watching a guy and his name was Wings Hauser. And I never went to my mom and asked, but I just thought it was coincidence. But, obviously my family's been in it since the beginning of time. And Harry and Jack and the Warner Brothers, Sam, Abe, they created sound and film. I mean, we wouldn't be having this conversation. I mean, Sam sunk sound and film, which has obviously changed the meter for all the studios back then. So I'm proud of, what they've accomplished. And I've, continued, I hope, to, tell great stories. And, as I get a little bit older, I'm now directing and writing. And I'm looking forward to the world seeing what I have in my pocket for the next couple of years.
Yeah, when you say that you were interested in sports to begin with, what sports are we talking?
Anything with a ball.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, in addition to Yellowstone, you've also got an impressive film resume, and it goes back quite a ways. I remember School Ties. I think I watched it when it first came out, and I watched it again last week just to see, because at the time I was like, I wouldn't have probably known. Heck, I didn't even know who Matt Damon or Ben Affleck was. But School Ties, Dazed and Confused. Do you have a favorite role?
35 years ago, by the way.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite role of those or those early movies? Maybe before you did the Yellowstone.
The first one's always got a big piece of your heart. And the cast was amazing. It was Brendan Fraser, Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Randall Battenkoff, Andrew Lowry, Anthony Rapp. I mean, the list goes on. Of wonderful people. And Sherry Lansing and Stanley Jaffe were, running Paramount at the time. And it was just a wonderful experience, to have that as my first film. But I mean, there's so many of these, roles that I've done since. They all have a piece of my heart.
Yeah. And that School Ties movie, I mean, that's got a powerful message back then. It's got a powerful message even today. So go watch that, folks. All right. Well, did you ever have any idea that Yellowstone would become the phenomenon that it has become?
No, nobody did. I mean, anybody that says that's full of shit. But, the thing is that, I think what we did, which is, pretty amazing is we cultivated a kind of a grassroots, the interior of the country really fell in love with it and it built out, and I think when you do that, you end up having a core audience, that will stick with you. Even when we take a year and a half off or whatever, they still come back and watch it. And I think that's kind of what we're doing with the whiskey, and starting it in Montana is that grassroots feeling, of wanting to do something not only for the state that I love and Lucian loves and Britt, but us as partners is bringing something to the Montanians and saying, hey, you know what, let's be proud of something that obviously the juice was, in 8 years it'll be from here in Montana, but something that we, honor, the culture of the Montanians.
Okay. And Cole, can you talk about the how you came to be Rip Wheeler? Did they call you? Did you seek out that role? And then your reaction when you found out that you had been cast as one of the great characters on TV.
Thanks. So John Linson, who I've known for over 30 years, is the co-creator. Obviously, Taylor Sheridan is the other creator. And John said, look at the script, let me know what you're thinking. And so I went back to John and I said, the only role for me is Rip. And so he put me in touch with Taylor. We got on the phone. We talked for probably an hour and a half. And he said, the role is yours, if that's what you want to do. He'd been watching me from afar for a very long time. He was a former actor. In fact, I think he auditioned in a couple movies that I got, and he made jokes about it later. But and then him and I just became really, really tight. And it wasn't a big role at the time, and we just started talking, on our off days, and let's create a true American man, and that harkens back to the old days, but also understanding that we can't go back too far, and we have to somewhat be a part of the times. And so I think we just started working on that and working on it, and it has evolved over the last 5.5 seasons, I guess.
Yeah. Is it surprising to you to see? I mean, I see some of the merchandise, the hats, the shirts, and they've got the Rip outline with the glasses and the hat, and some of them say take him to the train station or whatever. Is that, when you see that, because we see it all the time in Montana here at little stores and stuff like that, that's got to be kind of an
My
amazing
mother bought a
thing.
Halloween costume the other day, and I think that kind of that says it all. She didn't dress up as Beth, but she has all the stuff that's come out over the last 5 years, and she's kept it. And she even has, I think, like a life-size poster of me in her window. So she says that basically protects her. So
Awesome.
listen, it's all pretty wild to see that kind of stuff, but ultimately what matters to me is the work, and continuing to do a great job in entertaining the audience.
All right. Well, we've heard that Yellowstone is nearing its end, second half of season 5 being the last, but there are other series we've heard on the series in the franchise. We know that there's 1883, there's been 1923, but also talk of a sequel. Any talks about you being involved in those?
Maybe not. You'll see.
All right. We'll keep that in mind. And what, if anything, can you tell us about the final episodes of Yellowstone?
I haven't read it yet. I'm going to actually go out and see Taylor in the next couple of weeks here, and we'll sit down and chat about the future.
Okay. The Rip character we see on Yellowstone, is he similar to the Cole Hauser that people see off the set? And if so, how?
No, I mean, there's pieces of me in every character that I've played, but he's a great conglomerate of Taylor's unbelievable writing and my ideas on screen, and they've merged together, I think very nicely. And obviously the response has been great, but there's not too much. I mean, I'm a family guy. I'm a pretty simple guy. I guess in that way I'm like Rip, but I got 3 kids and 5 dogs, and I live a pretty simple life.
All right. Well, I was trying to think of who Rip reminds me of, and I'm a sports fan, and I thought, he reminds me a lot of Joe Montana, because you're so cool and level-headed on the show, but you can be heavy-handed when needed. So that's
Joe was a killer. He was a sweet guy, but he was a killer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What about other acting projects for you? You got anything else on the horizon?
I do. Yeah, I got a lot. I'm going to direct a film next year called The Westies, which I wrote, which is about the rise and fall of the Irish mob in the 1970s. And it's based on a true story about Mickey Featherstone and Jimmy Coonan. So I'm excited about that. That's my first directorial debut. I mean, I actually did a PBR, like 7-minute kind of short for the PBR and Sean Gleason, and that just came out the other day. So that's kind of the first thing I did, but this will be a full-length feature. So I'm excited about that. And then I've written some other stuff, Chosen, which is about Korea. And that's more of a limited series. And there's a few other things, Dakota Damned, which is about the oil boom in the Dakotas in the 40s. So there's a lot going on. I'm excited about the next few years, and I'm excited about this bourbon company, Lazy K
Yeah,
Bar.
staying busy. Yeah.
I want to see this take over Montana, and I think it will. And then from there, we'll move on to the next states.
Well, you've teamed up with David Lucian with Lazy K Bar Ranch near Big Timber, and also I understand Britt West, a well-known, longtime alcohol industry veteran at a Livingston, to make Lazy K Bar bourbon. Tell me why you decided to branch out into the bourbon business.
Well, I mean, listen, it's been a long time coming. There's been a lot of different things that have been thrown my way, but this made the most sense, given the fact that Lucian is third generation. Britt West, is one of the leaders in the alcohol space, along with Gallo. My family history, us being there since the 1860s in the Helena area in Livingston. And then also, bringing out something that's, iconic, kind of symbol of Montana, and it has been for, over 100 years is bourbon in Montana. And so, for me personally, everything fell in to the right slot, and I just thought it's the right thing to do. And I now in tasting it, it's damn good.
Yeah, and I think you seem to be the type that have probably tasted a brand of whiskey or two, and this one is
Oh yeah.
sounds
Yeah.
like it's right up there. I have not tasted it
Yeah,
yet,
no,
but it's
I'm a whiskey aficionado. I've been drinking it for, a very long time.
all right. Well, you said your Montana family history dates back to 1862. Can you tell me a little bit more about that and your family's roots in Montana?
Well, I still have a ton of family there, and obviously Idaho, Wyoming, Washington State, but Montana, Samuel T. Hauser arrived there in the 1800s, and I think it was 1862, and he was a banker first in Helena, and you know, obviously Lake Hauser, the Hauser Dam, he created that to help with the farming industry back in the late 1800s. Pretty cool history I'm proud of, obviously not only as a Montanian, but as somebody who's an American as well.
All right. Uh, Getting back to the bourbon, what in your opinion, as someone who's tasted a lot of bourbon, a lot of whiskey, what makes
Yeah,
this one stand out from others?
the smoothness of it. I mean, it's a good thing and a bad thing depending, on the evening. You can drink a half a bottle of it real easy, which is good for us and good for people that really love the taste of a nice smooth bourbon. But it scored a 98 out of 100, which is unheard of. I was around Montana, and I really, didn't let people bullshit me. And I said, hey, what do you really think of this? And people that are, pretty high up on the food chain when it comes to tasting whiskeys, and they weren't bullshit, and they said this is quality stuff, and I know when people are full of it. So we're pretty excited about it obviously being in Montana, but in time, hopefully the world will be able to taste it.
All right. Well, I know it's distilled in Kentucky, which I think is true for all bourbon, or
For
most
now,
bourbon, I
yeah.
guess. Yeah. But it's bottled in Bozeman.
Yeah.
Are there any of the ingredients in this that are from Montana?
Not yet, my man. We're working on it as we speak, and it takes obviously 8 years to cultivate a great batch, and so we're in the process of doing that.
Okay. Well, you're obviously encouraging people to drink the whiskey, but obviously drink responsibly too.
Yes, of course. Don't drink
All
and
right.
drive.
Yeah. Cole, I know that you're also involved with Free Reign Coffee.
Yeah.
Tell me about that and what separates that from the rest of the coffee brands out there.
I mean, listen, I spent a year, creating this from the ground up. Not only just, it's a Western brand, but it's a brand for everybody. But, most importantly is, it's roasted here in America, in San Angelo, Texas. We've put some wonderful people together, not only in Texas, but also Arkansas. And the response has been great. We've been working with veteran organizations, and every bag that you buy over the holidays, $1 goes to, to a veteran organization. So we've raised, a lot of money in the last 3 months. We're all really proud of what we've accomplished, and the world is our oyster right now. Hopefully, it'll continue to do well.
You've got kids, you said. Do you want them to follow in your footsteps as an actor, or are you one of the guys that says, do what you want with your life and just...
Yeah, no, listen, they're all athletes. They love what they do. I think they see how much time I'm away from them and my wife. And so I think they would opt never to do that. But they all respect the fact of, what do I do? And it's just, I think sometimes it's a tough life to balance family and career. So I think I've done a good job, but at the same time too, that, I'm not always around.
Yeah. Maybe you'll have a future sports star in here, maybe the next Shohei Ohtani, and wouldn't that be nice?
I got a 15-year-old that's a killer in football, and then I got a daughter who actually is an unbelievable basketball player. So I'm pretty proud of them.
All right, good deal. You have been in the business for a long time. So what advice would you give to maybe someone breaking in as an actor or performer?
It's been so long since, the way that I got into the business was through plays, and I went to New York, and I pounded on doors and auditioned, and then moved out to Los Angeles and did the same there. Today it's the world of, social media and all those things. I don't even know how you get into it. But what I can tell you is that, ultimately, I think plays are still, very meaningful. I think that, cast and directors and agents and managers all go watch those. So, that would be my advice is, go and put in the time, hit the streets, knock on doors. And you know what, if you work hard enough, you'll get to where you want to be.
Any acting work as far as plays in your I mean, you said you started out in plays, but have you done any work on, say, Broadway or anything like that? Or is that something you'd like to do?
No,
maybe?
I've had a few offers, but I honestly, with Yellowstone and then all the other stuff I have, it's just, that would take up another 3 months of my year, and I just don't have the time right now. But maybe down the road, maybe. We'll see. Yeah.
Well, I know you've got strong Montana ties, and of course you film when you guys film the show. It's in Montana, but do you ever get up here? I guess probably you do when you're helping with the whiskey company. Do you get to spend much time in Montana? And if so, where do you?
I'm always up there. I've been up there more than I've been in my home state of Florida. I mean, I was just up there cruising around the state. And then before that, I did 3 events for veterans up there.
Nice.
Summer. I have tons of, like I said, family and friends, down in Hamilton, Darby, all the way up to Whitefish, Helena, Livingston, Big Timber, Red Lodge, you name it.
All right. Well, speaking as a Helena native, and now knowing a little bit more about the history of Hauser Lake and Hauser Dam, that makes sense and makes me a fan of Cole Hauser and Rip Wheeler even more.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it. By the way, have you gone by the Hauser mansion in the old town?
Yeah, I have,
like
actually.
A ghost tour in Helena, and
Yeah.
they have a tour, and they go by that. So I took my kids there about 2 years ago. It was a really cool tour, actually, of Helena.
Yeah. All right.
In the history.
It's been a long time since I've seen that, but it's another thing to reacquaint myself with, I guess. So
maybe when it warms up.
Yeah, there you go. Well, Cole, thank you so much. Good luck with the final episodes of Yellowstone and all the other projects, the whiskey, the coffee, and just everything that you got going on. I appreciate you taking time.
Thank you.
You've been listening to a conversation with actor Cole Hauser, who plays Rip Wheeler on the hit TV series Yellowstone. And according to several media entertainment websites, the final episodes of Yellowstone will premiere in November of 2024. Now remember, you can subscribe to McGonigal's Chronicles wherever you get your podcasts, and you can follow the podcast on social media. I'll be back soon with another interesting guest with a Montana connection. Until then, for McGonigal's Chronicles, Making Montana Connections, I'm Tim McGonigal.